Hello everyone, JagTagger93 here with a rather old school Do 2 WAD this weekend. This one comes to us from 1995 by Knut, Andreas, Ruud, and it's called Black Lodge. Now I saw the name of this map, Black Lodge, I got really excited thinking it was a Twin Peaks inspired WAD. I was really hoping for a map where an armed to the teeth Dale Cooper re-enters the Black Lodge to save Laura Palmer and do battle with Doppelkoop and his legions of demons. That just sounds so badass, right? Yeah, now I can really smoke a cigarette and drink a cup of coffee to that idea. Sadly, that's not the case. This WAD seems to be pretty bland, and the name appears to be very coincidental. Even though it's bland, it's pretty playable. It's adequately put together and is worth your time. Now, to get into it, the map is very linear and straightforward. Now, there are a few tricks here and there that will keep veteran players on their toes, so it's not a completely boring experience. For example, there is a floor that will drop the player into a dark pit of imps, and a little while later there's a very sneaky fake wall trick with some hidden chain gunners behind it. Now besides the traps, a good portion of the challenge here comes from the confining architecture. Narrow corridors and small rooms makes dodging very tricky, especially as much of the map is filled with the big, bulky pinky demons. Also, for a good portion of the map, especially the first part, you'll only be down to a shotgun and some shells. Narrow corridors plus a weapon with a slow fire rate, the shotgun, and very little ammo for it, plus those bulky bullet sponge demons I mentioned, means that the player really needs to engage enemies very carefully in these confined areas. Even seasoned players will get a slight, modest challenge out of this one on ultraviolence. And it's a good challenge too, except for the aforementioned fake wall chain gunner trap, which is really cheap actually. You walk by the wall, nothing happens. You walk back to it, right in front of it actually, and then you get unloaded and you can't see why, and then, yeah. Anyway, there's a pretty good flow going on in the map here with bulky demons and very little ammunition. It's likely to be playing Punch-Out here and there to conserve ammunition. The hardest demon you'll encounter is a Mancubus, which is flanked by a few lesser demons on ultraviolence. Typical of this map, this fight with the Mancubus happens in a very small room. Fighting old Fatso in a tight telephone booth-sized area was definitely a interesting task, to say the least. Usually when the player encounters these demons, the Mancubus, or Mancubi, usually it's in very open environments. Here, though, having to fight them in a very confined closet-like space provided a pretty good, unique challenge. Now, I'd like to say this encounter with the Mancubus in the small room was a conscious effort by the author to give the player an original, engaging experience with a very familiar foe. However, the questionable enemy placement here really makes me hesitate in making that claim. There are moments where you'll encounter enemies at a distance, and they'll be unable to approach the player due to some obstruction. This kind of encounter is typical with ranged enemies, so they can harass the player despite being confined to a specific location. However, in this map, the author, for whatever reason, opted to place pinky demons in these areas along with imps. The pinkies never teleport out of these spots, pose no threat to the player at a distance, and you can't actually walk to them without no clipping. So, yeah, there's absolutely no point for them to be there. There's so little room for them to actually do anything. Actually, you might argue, well, maybe they're there so you can provoke some monster fighting, but it doesn't really happen with how they're placed. So, yeah, it's a very odd, very questionable placement. Also, only a handful of imps stand guard in front of the exit, which really punctuates the very anticlimactic ending. Lastly, the item placement is also very questionable. Now, it starts off very strong, the item placement, giving the player the slow firing but powerful shotgun and only a few shells, and soon after you get a berserk pack. So that gives you the impression that, okay, maybe this map is meant to give me very little ammunition and I'm meant to engage enemies as much as possible with my berserk fists. And that goes really well, but eventually the map opens up and you get a plasma rifle at the very end of the map. And here it made no sense. By this point, when you get the plasma rifle, you already dispatched some of the more substantial demons in this map. And all that's really left are some zombies, imps, and a single Hell Knight at a distance that can't really engage you up close. And again, this is true of ultraviolence. Now, when a player sees a weapon like a plasma rifle, it sends a signal that business is about to pick up, so I was really anticipating something big on the horizon. Sadly, it really wasn't to be. Overall, this is a playable map, at times pretty fun. It has some unique tricks and traps for its time, and for that I rate it a 6 out of 10. Despite its flaws, it's worth checking out, links in the description. It's simple, small, really should take most players around 10 to 15 minutes to play through, but it's a recommended 10 to 15 minute playthrough. Really no more than that though. Alright, and thank you all for watching. This is Jag Tagger 93 signing out. You have a good one.